Marine reacts to SCP-035 Sedition Interview, Tape 2 by Tats TopVideos. As always, I'm going to be leaving the link to the original video and channel down in the description below, so go ahead and make sure that you check them out. Alright, so just a very little quick recap of what happened at the end of Tape 1. We're starting to see that the mask can actually get pretty angry, depending on how you ask him the questions, especially with Watch, when you started asking him. And he wanted to have exact numbers, and then we already know that 035 was already given like pretty... He talked about weaving a narrative, and then he says all the facts there that they just have to do the work in order to figure out the questions that they are asking. And then we see him get it seemed like he got offended at one point, because then he said, "Do you even know who I am? Do you know who you're talking to?" Right? And then as soon as the guy, not in the room but out behind that little area, is saying that he can make things more difficult for 035 because 035 started acting up a little bit, and then 035 again gets angry, and then he ends up breaking the neck of the D-class personnel that he's on. So this is going to be Tape 2, and we're going to see what's going to happen and see if we can even get more information on Watch. But before we get into the actual SCP video, don't forget to like, subscribe. Really does help me out a lot. Hit that notification button right there, that way you get notified every time I do upload. Sometimes uploading twice a day. Typically working on them in the mornings and releasing them in the late afternoon or late evening. So that way when you all get off work, you can enjoy these videos at your leisure. So without further ado, let's go ahead and see what SCP-035's Sedition Interview Tape 2 is all about.
These are the hands of an artist. Calluses, hard worker, shows vintage.
He was a person once.
Now who stopped seeing him as one first? You consider people like him property. At least they live through me. For as long as they last.
Oh, the D-class personnel. Okay, yeah, alright.
Not here to argue with you. Now could you please answer my previous question about 001?
I appear to be in a more agreeable mood. Why not?
So?
Well, which one? I understand there's about one.
Okay, I did not expect him to say which one. I thought he was immediately talking about the Gate Guardian, which I don't know, that to me just seems to always be really connected to that number one spot, but I know there's multiple. And when he said which one, I was like, dude. I'm sorry, that's like just that little piece right there is why I really like these Sedition interviews, you know?
20? So what am I to say? How am I to know which one is the real Slim Shady?
The real what now?
That surfaced out of nowhere? Teething problems. Anyway, here's my point. Why ask my opinion if only one of them exists? Or two? Or heck, maybe even none at all? What if they're just a ruse to keep people from knowing what the real 001 is? That's what I would do.
That's an interesting theory.
I'm right, aren't I? Come on, you can tell me.
I think we've said all that needs to be said. What do you think about humanity?
In all honesty, I find humanity to be the greatest source of entertainment.
Really? What is it about us that you find so compelling?
The answer to that question is a difficult concept to grasp.
Something philosophical?
Life as we know it is one great symphony of order. Everything has a purpose. It's a place in the grand scheme of things, nature and matter. But then, humanity is thrown into the mix. Chaos, purposelessness, no order, and yet, somehow you coexist in your own illogical way, conjuring order and purpose for yourselves. Science and art would not exist had your kind not created it. In your attempt to make sense of the world, humanity interprets through imagination and entertainment. Calling a spade is just so boring, and you start murdering each other because of its mundanity.
I see what you're saying.
It's essential to your sanity. With no lens to hold it up to the world, you become fearful of it. You wind up having another day massacre. A single anxious, powerful woman caused a riot that lasted 27 days. All thanks to a little reality intruding on her life. Of course, I may have had a small hand in events.
We're one hell of a playset to you.
We're all playthings to something or someone else. Don't believe that I was never someone's toy too. Don't feel so victimized. It's only human. Believe me when I say this. We have more in common than what you see in those little files.
How does an artificial body compare to one that once lived?
Let me ask you this. Would you prefer to interact with flesh or the imitation? It's familiar, like home. It shows expression in the subtleties of its movement that no mere statue can mimic.
Wouldn't something like an animatronic body last longer?
You're right about that. But most people would be scared out of their wits. It's not about preserving the body beyond its expiration date. It's experiencing what you can with the time you have left. Stone and metal provides no experiences to build upon the ones I already have.
Touching. And what about in the mind? Are you afraid of expressing your own psychological state without another's personality to filter it through?
Smart move, but you'll have to try better.
Moving on. What is your purpose?
Not sure. What's yours?
I thought we were talking about you.
Whatever piques my interest.
My purpose is whatever I choose it to be.
Sure it is. Objectively, I guess you could say my purpose is to help people express themselves in death in ways they never could in life.
And unobjectively?
For now, to feed.
Is that what drives you to possess humans? Do you gain knowledge, sustenance, or some form of joy?
Certainly more satisfying than taking over inanimate objects. Like that man behind the glass over there.
No comment.
To an extent.
Oh, I don't know. Might be reading too much into this now, but the little chuckle, I don't know if 035 is actually... Because we found out in the first one he also wanted to... It seemed like he was trying to get Watch to put him on, right? I don't know. Maybe the little laugh is him finally starting to break that ice. And starting to maybe make a connection. So...
I gained some knowledge of the person I possess, their memories and experiences. Although I don't really retain much. Just what I've said and done is them.
And you feed on that?
It's not like a literal meal. It's a feast of the soul. I thrive on variety. And what better fruits for a spotlighter like myself than fresh, ripe experiences and emotions of humanity?
Pretty tasty. Ever come across some rotten apples?
Don't blame the tools if you're not talented enough to work with them. That being said, who am I to complain when I receive some variety?
You could be the voice of reason to their tortured mind.
That is not my purpose. I accentuate, not debilitate. I study behaviors just like you. Like I said, we could be great stage partners.
I don't force you to do anything.
No, but they do. Where's your voice of reason?
I don't murder people.
What does that change?
I'm on this side of the table.
That's a very thin line you've drawn there, and it can be crossed in an instant.
That immediately sounded like a threat.
This line of questioning is discontinued.
Do you have sympathy towards your victims? 035?
Something else.
Is this upset?
Another question, damn it!
So he can... So he's starting to show that anger a lot more frequently now. And... It's interesting. Because typically we've been seeing him, for the majority of the time, pretty cool, level-headed, very like joyful type. But there's certain questions that just seem to really trigger him. So it's interesting to note.
It's difficult to answer. I used to not need to, but now, it's unavoidable. I share a person's memories and experiences. As soon as I take their minds, I see everything they lose. But the difficulty is not recognizing sympathy, but from where it is born. Is it me who sympathizes with my victim, as you so call it, or they who sympathize through me?
Have they ever influenced you to take action? To do something you don't necessarily want to?
On occasion, a host lights may drive me to perform actions that deal with the urges. But to control or fully influence me, that is yet to occur.
It sounds almost as if you begin as the intruder of a person's mind. But once you make that link, the host becomes the voice constantly speaking inside your head.
Next question.
But
Please. So, go ahead.
With what?
Just ask. I know it's what you've been buttering me up for, so...
Alright. What did you and 049 talk about during the containment breach?
Oh, nothing much, just catching up on old times.
We've suspected for some time that you two came in contact prior to containment.
It goes a little deeper than that, darling. We are lovers, he and I.
Really?
No, I just wanted to see the look on your face.
I think somebody mentioned it in the comments on the first video of this one, where they said that they don't care what the mask would do, but they would definitely have a beer with them. So, interesting. With 049, huh?
Funny.
You need to loosen up more. Let more people get close to the real you.
I'm not the one being interviewed here. So, if you weren't lovers...
Acquaintances. More so partners, perhaps. But we were so much different back then.
How far back are we talking about?
Oof, a good 1,000 years now? I found myself caught up in the Crusades, and being me, warped events to suit my needs. Made them think I was a holy artifact. I mean, I am, but they didn't need to know it wasn't their gods. Found the cause very silly, but the perks, eh?
Your talents for scamming the human race never cease to amaze me.
You make it sound so evil. I was trying to survive. If they thought I was a product of Satan, I'd have been destroyed and you wouldn't have the pleasure of my company.
More's the pity.
You flirt. Anyway, I was headed through Bosnia with a small group of Hungarian soldiers. They had just won a foothold and we were taking some trinkets back across the border. So much for reclaiming the Holy Land. And the caravan was ambushed by rebel troops. Which only goes to show that just because the Crusades worked the first time does not mean it'll work a second. I only found out later that Hungary was pushed back across the border.
Later?
When the trinkets were reclaimed, I wasn't picked up. Seems to be difficult to influence people when they're afraid for their lives. And so I was left alone in the wilderness. Dramatic, really. Very comic.
How did you get someone to find you?
I didn't. 049 found me all on his own. By this point, he had another name. Funny though, I can't seem to recall it.
How are they just going to tease 049 having another name and not mention it? Probably it was just Plague Doctor, you know?
Birds from the light like a savior from above. Somehow he knew I was alive, and he could feel my energy.
Did he put you on?
Yes, but we weren't linked like I had been with other hosts. It was mutual, equal.
What was he doing in the Middle East? That's awfully out of the way.
He'd been making his way through Asia towards Europe on his pilgrimage of cleansing. The Crusades had died down in my absence, and 049 was heading through to clean up the mess.
And how exactly does turning the corpses of the fallen into proxies help that exactly?
Oh, no. 049 wasn't turning the dead. He was resurrecting them. Truly, he gave what few he could life. Mostly innocent bystanders, and seldom brought back soldiers, especially on the Christian side. He was avoiding the road most travel, else he'd have a meeting with the business end of a sword. He came across me on his way to Italy, where he heard a great many lives had been cut short.
And so you traveled together?
I'm sorry, was I interrupting your story?
Alright, please, continue.
Thank you. Anyway, as we traveled, merchants and refugees spoke of a dark cloud that hung over the land, killing all under its shadow.
The bubonic plague?
I'd get to that if you stopped interrupting me! Anyway, we spent years in the East, encountering still mostly those who had perished in the Crusades. In that time, we grew to appreciate each other. He even allowed me to perform for the Risen before we were forced to move on. We made quite the unusual double act. He'd bring him back and I'd knock him dead all over again. He showed me probably the most human side of me than anyone before or since. Then we reached Regina, and the plague was waiting. He was so afraid. Unnaturally. This was a 049 who embraced the living as much as the dead. Now, he feared the living more. Try as he might, he could only save the dead, but he could not prevent them from being reinfected. It was a charnel house, and we saw the same faces over and over again. I implored him to use my powers, but even with me, it was not enough. Nothing would be. The plague was relentless death. The power of the gods could not stop it. We had to heal the sick rather than revive the dead.
A necromancer can only resurrect. Could he heal the wounded as well?
The potential was there, deep within. I could help him unlock it, but 049 refused. We left Italy soon after. We never stopped moving.
You didn't bring back anyone else?
No. He kept ignoring everyone on the path, never turned back. All he wanted to do was reach Britannia and be done with it. Like the family member you wish was dead, the plague was there waiting on the doorstep to greet us upon his return home. He had left behind so many before setting out on his journey. Now, cruel fate tormented him, as they had been buried too long for him to bring back, not in any shape or form you'd be pleased about. I implored him once more, and eventually, he caved. An 18-year-old victim of the sickness was our first and last living patient. We tried with all our might, but something happened. It was the most odd sensation I had ever felt. A burning seared through me like the forges of Olympus, and I felt myself bleed for the first time. That's when I heard 049 screaming. I'm not entirely sure what happened to him, but that's where my blood comes from.
What about 049?
He hid himself behind that ridiculous mask he picked up in Italy. I had to move on.
Oh, so he didn't have the mask on prior then. So this is really... So they were saying that he was only working on dead bodies because he started fearing the living because they would see the same faces over and over again. And then when they tried to help this boy, he ended up screaming. And then I'm assuming this is where they're going to part ways. And he got the mask that he picked up in Italy. I'm really hoping they talk about how it fused, because they say that it's not even on him right now, but it's like a part of him. So, curious to see how that happens.
And I had the theater to help me regain lost confidence. I fear our ordeal left him disfigured, or worse, insane. But when we looked down at our patient, what remained of her would be enough to drive most people crazy from grief.
Never mind, it was a girl. I thought they said 18-year-old boy, so, yeah.
What's your thoughts on the Foundation itself?
Oh no. We were such on positive topics. You don't want to hear what I think of this.
This?
Sorry. Ignore that. I should always be wearing a happy face. I am very bored in my cell. I doubt anyone would be willing to oblige my thirst for entertainment.
I may be able to convince someone to let you have a dummy in television.
Don't make promises you can't keep, Watch.
Need I say more? It's okay. I don't see your Foundation as much of a problem for me.
Are you planning to escape?
If you're up to anything...
Oh, relax. I'm not too hung up on escaping. Would I if I had the opportunity? Sure. Who wouldn't? But I've been locked away before, and you not liberated me like others before you. I don't need to escape. Eventually, this prison will roll away and I'll simply walk out the fourth wall.
Better hope our countermeasures aren't used in the meantime. What would you do if you were to be free of this place?
That's a lot of possibilities.
Feel free to list a few.
Well, in that case, I would love to run my own theater, host a wide variety of plays, operas. Oh, this takes me back. I haven't worked properly with the group since my days with Bill. Completely stole my concept for Othello. I wonder if Amadeus ever finished that concerto I was working on. I have so much catching up to do.
In that case, I think I'll rephrase my question to, what is your end goal?
I'd have some innocent fun and some not so innocent fun. I'm not content with having just one hobby, but even my most malicious plans will only result in a casualty or two.
So relatively sensible plans for the human race.
And what's wrong with a little bit of fun?
I'm certainly not complaining.
Damn straight. Us masks get a bad rap. Like that fire guy, what's his name?
2814?
Sure. Crap name, but sure. Fire mask. Always a laugh riot. But is it truly its fault when some bozo with bad hygiene decides to abuse the gifts they've been given against the world? It has its own hopes and dreams, even more innocent than mine perhaps. But it's the people who use us who give us a bad name.
That's an interesting way to think about it. But then again, not in all cases, it's the person in control of what's going on. Because it seems like whenever someone puts on something, like say 035, it's the mask who seems to be the one in charge. right? I feel like 035 right now is trying to get some empathy from Watch and trying to trick him. And I'm assuming that's why they have that other guy back here to kind of be a backup in case 035 does seem to persuade Watch to put him on. And I feel like he's trying to make the connection because did realize the Watch has capabilities. And I guess he's trying to continuously draw closer as far as like building a connection. I would have to check out what this other mask though is, just to get an idea.
That may be true in the case of 2814, but it appears to subconsciously influence some people. As for you, you have complete control over them.
I only act on murderous impulses if they are strong enough within my host.
Uh-huh, sure.
Just real quick, can I just say I love it anytime 035 does this? It looks very innocent, but I know obviously, you know.
What do you fear?
Can you not see I'm already living in my own personal hell? No freedom of expression, hardly any recreation, constantly under watch by Lodge.
Must feel a lot like being an exhibit trapped in the museum.
Not a place for a gift from the gods. My talents are wasted in here.
Your talents could kill people.
But my rights! I live, I breathe on occasion. I think therefore I am and all that nonsense.
At least in here you won't be destroyed.
My essence dies. Like you said, an exhibit, you know? I know you understand. You feel trapped too.
I don't know.
Don't lie. I see the way you look at them. Never moving without their approval. Afraid for your very soul. We are alike in that way.
I guess we are, huh?
We are both trapped in the same prison. Exhibits on display. I, a mystery. You, the key. But both used, studied for their amusement. I'd rather amuse on my own terms. And perhaps I could help for you too.
I don't know if it was just me watching things, but when he was talking, he seemed to be inching slightly closer. But then right now, when he moved his hand across the table, I think Watch might be considering it. But then again, he knows he's being watched, you know, from around these cameras and whatnot. But this is interesting because now it seems like he's almost catching Watch off guard now.
Smart move, but you'll have to try better.
You're strong, but soon.
Why do you wish to control 682?
Oh, woe is I, to yearn what I cannot possess. Such is the curse of unrequited love, wouldn't you say?
I thought love was supposed to be abundant. Shared, moonlit strolls to the park, romantic dinners, flowers, all that jazz.
Spoken like a man unlucky in the art of attraction.
You can already tell I'm not in any position to indulge in that.
Such a shame.
Enough with the small talk. Answer the question.
You never kissed anyone, let alone
Why are you interested in 682?
It would be an interesting experience. My influence combined with the indestructibility of 682, the perfect organism. It would be my next step towards being a god.
Just real quick, I don't remember exactly too well, but when they say he could take over humanoid inanimate objects or humanoids just in general, like even SCPs, would 682 be considered humanoid? Because it's always more in the shape of a reptile. I don't know. I'll have to check after though.
With Hira gone, why would you need to become God anymore?
Hero never died, my boy. She merely retreated along with her brethren. I may not have heard her directly, but my attack on their power struck fear into the gods. They are weaker than ever before, and 682 may be the catalyst for my revenge.
There's only one problem.
Yes, incompatibility. 'Twas the same fault I had with 517, but 682 has more opportunity. No matter, even if it cannot adapt itself to accommodate me, I'm sure I can convince them to join my cause.
I wouldn't hold your breath. One's very stubborn and the other very dead.
As are you. Next!
As are you. Was he referred to him being alive or about to be dead? I just feel like the way they wrote this animation really gets like I don't know what you would call it, the synapses in your brain really start like firing. Try to make sense of every little thing, because you never know where one little piece of line is going to be very important later on, you know?
What were you doing in that crypt we found you in at Venice?
Drinking margaritas and getting a tan. What the hell do you think?
We both know that's not
I know, my boy. I'm not as dim-witted as the other tenants here.
So what's the story?
Will you miss my stories once I'm gone?
They want answers, not filibusters. As do I.
So direct. No appreciation.
No, I'm just not up for being distracted. You've been trying to sidetrack this interview consistently, and frankly, I'm getting tired of your antics. Tell your story. Your audience is growing tired.
I'll take that criticism to heart. It must have been around 1848. Or was it 49? Anyway, Venice was quite preoccupied with a slight outbreak of cholera. The decision to travel there was an unfortunate oversight of mine, and the convoy succumbed quite suddenly while seeking treatment. My last host must have been a native of the area, and had the strong urge to return to his family tomb. I doubt he realized he entered the wrong crypt. Poor thing was delusional with fear. And then, all went quiet. I had no one. No one to call for, not even a stray. I was alone. The rest, as they say, is history.
Do you remember all of your time there?
Vividly. It is an experience I do not wish to recount.
I'm sure you can make it interesting.
I am growing tired of my unappreciative audience. I allowed you here for my purposes, not yours.
If you don't mind, I'd like to go back to...
I do.
Sorry?
You've kept me cooped up in here answering these boring questions all day, and I'm getting very little satisfaction from you.
Whatever the case...
This isn't your personal circus, 035. You'll do as we demand.
Sit up, roll over, play dead, jump through hoops. That noise. I'm done being on display. And if you won't submit to me, then I'll take you myself.
I think it's time we concluded this interview.
Why so anxious, dog? Afraid of the exhibits? Getting too close, are we? How would you like some first-hand experience?
Guards!
Get him out! God damn it, get enough of it! Get him down!
Holy shit, I won't lie, that kind of scared me a little bit. Especially when he jumped over. Just real quick. 035 attacked I-class personnel. Redacted. Watch. Huh. I-class? During questioning, upon entering the interview room, security discovered 035's host inherent. 035 appeared to have redacted watch, was transferred to medical ward to recover from injuries. 035 has been returned to his cell. With increased countermeasures to prevent escape, engineers discovered 035 used its corrosive to interfere with the electrical equipment in an attempt to obtain a new host. Medical staff cannot determine how watch survived the encounter. The subject in question regained consciousness after 11 days of care, physically and mentally unscathed. They're surprised how Watch, and they got that in quotation marks, how he survived the encounter. Probably due to some capabilities or anomalous things that he might have.
Seriously, guys, what am I gonna do?
Service pickup line 2. Paging Mr. Greco, there's a message for you at the information desk.
How are you feeling?
Fine. Shouldn't I be?
Is anything wrong?
I don't remember much after 035. Why are you so concerned?
I'm aware we're not what you'd call friends, but
Please don't. Just don't let this thing take any more hosts.
I can't promise that.
You're making a big mistake.
035 is a wealth of knowledge the Foundation cannot...
Pick your foundation and pick you. You've seen I'm fine. May I go now?
Interesting.
Damn it! Shit! No,
I'm sorry.
that was... Let me help.
Thank you.
Don't mention it. Last thing you need is some douchebag roaming the halls.
I've seen worse.
I bet. Well,
I just want to say that was kind of like an anime moment, you know? Guy bumps into the girl.
See you around.
Alright, so let's talk about that for just a quick minute. And we started seeing like 035 was getting a lot more angry, a lot more pissed off at not only at certain questions, but just at the amount of questions and that the fact of what he's capable of doing. He feels like it seems like he feels like he's being insulted just being asked these random questions. But then you start to see him, he's trying to break literally that barrier between him and Watch to try to get him to put him on, specifically him, which is interesting because I still haven't found out what it is that makes Watch anomalous, which is what he was called in the old AI interview. So, with that in mind, when he got attacked, which by the way, kind of scared me a little bit, because it went from like very joyful, possessive mask, but then it went to immediate, like he's gonna mess him up. And then that whole thing got me a little bit. But when they said that the doctors didn't know how Watch came out of this really unscathed, I'm assuming that's got some important to do with his abilities. Maybe it's regeneration or whatever it may be. Obviously, he's got something. I still haven't seen what it is. But you never know. From what I know, Tats TopVideos is making more videos as far as like Sedition interviews, as far as I know. So hopefully within those videos, we might even be able to see like kind of like what's going on with Watch. It's just very interesting. I would really love to see one where Watch is actually getting interviewed. So just for a way to like get a little more background on him. But that's gonna go ahead and do it for this video. Don't forget to like, subscribe. Really does help me out a lot. Hit that dislike button if you didn't like the video. Helps me improve the channel. If you're curious to see what's coming up next, go ahead and check the description down below. You're gonna see a little list of about 5. Top to bottom, that's gonna be how I view them. But until then, I'll see you all in the next video. Bye.